All right, we are live, and you know, if you've been shopping around in this real estate market, you know that it's very competitive. How do you win as a buyer? Blake Miller is here with us today in the studio. Welcome, Blake. Good to have you. Yep. All right, we can shake. All right, my man from the Lee Home team. Now, Blake, so here's the thing. To win as a buyer, you know, one of the things that I'm always focused on from the lending aspect is we win when we get our offer accepted. Correct. Like, that is the number one goal, is to get an offer accepted. We could sit here and we could talk about getting pre-approved and searching for homes, and maybe we'll get to that. But the real thing that I think people who know and feel the pain that we're discussing right now is, how do I get an offer accepted against 20 and 30 other offers? So I know I've got a couple nuggets on this. I know you've got some nuggets and had a lot of success on this. How do we do it?
Well, I mean, there's definitely a few factors in today's market. Things are very competitive. And if you're looking at homes that are on the market, so on the MLS, on the Redfin, Zillow, chances are you're going to be competing against 12, 15. I had one that was 20 offers. So I guess the trick to doing that is just pre-screening any homes before you actually go and view them, right? So I actually just had a client purchase a home. We went up against 15 offers, and they were hopping through agents for about a year and a half. So they went through 3 different agents, and they kept submitting offers, not getting accepted, submitting offers, not getting accepted, right? So they asked me, Blake, what's the difference? Like, well, why do you think you can get it done and these guys couldn't, right? And so that's what we're going to talk about a little bit, is just the nitty gritty. So that pre-screening process, right? One huge thing in today's market is developing that rapport with the listing agent, right? To where they have trust in you, and they'll tell you what you need to know to come in to win, right? So I won't show houses to my client if I don't know what it's going to take to win, right? Because you're seeing things go for 30, 40 grand above asking price, True. Right? That's just how it is right now. So if it's listed at 500, I'm assuming that's going to sell for 530, right? So I need to know that before we go look at it, right? Another thing that we do is the appraisal, right? So getting approved with the lender and having that underwritten pre-approval, that really helps you, right? And the appraisal, if you can waive the no appraisal contingency, if they have the funds to do so, that makes your offer look a little bit more competitive. If not, there's always the appraisal bridge. I don't know if you've experienced this, right? Where you have maybe 5 to 10 grand that's an appraisal bridge. And that just makes the sellers more confident with your offer, saying, hey, look, if you're listed at 530 and it comes in at 520, we'll cover that 10 grand difference, right?
Up to 10 grand or whatever.
Up to 10 grand, not exceeding the original price of 530. So that's another thing that we go ahead and do. So with that client that we actually got him into, we took him out, showed him houses. First weekend, after a year and a half of not being able to get their offer accepted, first weekend, first day, offer accepted.
Offer accepted, dang.
Offer accepted, right? And the cool part about it is not only did we get the offer accepted first time around, we were actually able to get 10 grand back once we were in escrow.
Once you're in escrow.
Yep.
And that's where, and so you say once we're in escrow, because remember, as a buyer, when you are entering into an offer situation, while you're writing the offer, the seller has all of the hand. They have all of the cards. As soon as they accept your offer, they're handing those cards to you, basically. They're off the market. They can't accept any other offers. They can't negotiate with anyone else. They can take backup offers and stuff like that, but you still have a contract with them to purchase the home with certain terms.
Correct.
So once you get the offer accepted, then you take the driver's seat. Yep. And that's where you have your chance to do your due diligence, to tell them what's wrong with the property, to tell them, what your feelings are now that you've looked at it and had some time to look at it. That right there is the key. Get the offer accepted, because then you can still negotiate. Now, you don't necessarily plan on it, but you still can. You still have the ability to do so. So please keep that in mind. It's super crucial.
Yeah, I think it's just getting your foot in the door, right? So getting your offer accepted gets your foot in the door. And kind of what you're saying is the sellers are now going with you, and they're putting all their cards on the table.
Yeah.
Right? And typically, once you're in escrow and you have some time invested, both buyer and seller, they don't want to start over.
No.
They do not want to start over. Right?
Nobody wants to start over.
So that's where the buyer, as a buyer, you can now leverage that, and that's where you can start negotiating. You leverage the inspection report, right? If there's anything that needs to be repaired, if not credits, right? And the appraisal, right? If the appraisal comes in a little under, you can obviously negotiate that, whether they have to come out of pocket, depending on the situation. If you do an appraisal bridge, you kind of got to pay.
Committed to that, yeah.
You're committed to that. But that's one of the ways that you can go ahead and get that done is the appraisal as well, and leveraging the inspection report. That's critical.
That's big.
Yeah.
Well, let me recap this. So, as far as the things you're talking about, so pre-screening the property means before you look at it, talking to the agent, getting an idea where do we need to be on this one, where's the ballpark of the offers you're getting right now, just so you already know before you go and fall in love with a house.
Set the expectation.
Where do we need to be so everybody's on the same page? So that's tip number one. Number two, the appraisal bridge is basically saying, hey, we're going to write into this offer that if it doesn't appraise, we're not removing our appraisal contingency,
Right.
but we're saying that if it doesn't appraise, we're willing to put in this much money, up to this much money, to cover the difference.
Correct.
In what that would do for us from a financing perspective. So it's not removing the contingency, but it's relieving some of the concern that a seller might have about a home appraising. And of course, you're always going to have appraisal issues from here and there as a small percentage of the market. Right now, the market doing really, really well has helped a lot with appraisals. I've seen a lot of appraisals on purchases come in high recently, which is cool. You know, it's great when that happens. It doesn't always happen that way, but it has been. So it's less of a concern, I think, but sellers are still worried about it, especially if they're back on the market. You know, if they had an issue with something before, they're going to be very concerned about it. For example, if a home was on the market and it went out of escrow, or went into escrow and then went out because of a financing issue, they're going to be very sensitive about financing. So make note of that. Show them how strong you are from a financing perspective if you know that's the hot button. So look for hot buttons that you can push. I think, you know, make sure that your lender is contacting listing agent. If you're a buyer, and you're not getting your offers accepted, you know, talk to your lender and be like, hey, are you contacting the listing agent every time we make an offer to reassure them and to tell them about, you know, sometimes it's hard to get a hold of listing agents.
Right.
It really is, especially when they have a hot property and there's 30 offers. I'll leave a detailed voicemail, you know, and say, hey, save this voicemail. This is a buyer. Here's their name. I just want to give you their DTI. I want to tell you the DU. I'm going to leave you a voicemail that you can refer to later when you are presenting this to the seller.
Right.
You guys can listen to this. And it gives you all the details about what's going on. I'll text you a snapshot of the DU approval. I'll do whatever I think I need to do to help you feel confident that this is a buyer who's ready to go. So make sure that your lender, your loan officer, is doing those things, because while it may not always work, it's one of those things that adds up. If you're doing all these things that we're talking about, this really increases your probability of getting an offer accepted. The appraisal bridge is genius.
That's been my secret weapon recently, is the appraisal bridge, and just leveraging you have to have the right people, right? So who you choose to represent you, right? Both realtor and the loan officer in this business, you get to pick who you partner with, and there's a reason that I work with Derrick, and that's one of the reasons is that he actually goes the extra mile for you guys. So he's gonna just give you the pre-approval letter and say, you know, good luck. He'll actually fight for the deal alongside with me, and make sure that that listing agent knows that your offer is the strongest one that they have, hands down, right? So definitely leveraging the lenders is critical. Actually moving on to getting your offer accepted, I'm actually working with a client that's selling their home with me, and not purchasing another one, right?
Yeah.
So for sellers, I mean, you're basically calling the shots, right? But now they're going to be purchasing, and they're contingent. Right? So now you're adding an extra contingency to the offer, right? So now contingency just basically means that they need to sell their house in order to buy, right? So that can be looked upon as, I wouldn't say negative, but it doesn't look as strong as somebody who's just flat out buying a house, right? So we actually submitted an offer, and we're getting the offers accepted right off the bat, right? Is just getting that rapport with the agent and setting the expectation with the listing agent and the buyer of what it's going to take to win, and having the lender there and having the escrow officer, because we have Marina Vista Escrow, shout out to them. They have the escrow number that we need to show the listing agents, hey, we're good to go.
Yeah,
right.
we're in.
We're in. Like, we're ready to go.
And what are your thoughts on that right now? Because you're right. A lot of times, a contingent offer in this market will just kind of go to the bottom of the stack, right? Like, oh, that one's contingent. Oh gosh, you know, because there's more variables in the equation. Is there a way to make that stronger? I mean, obviously you've opened escrow. I mean, because remember, when you're selling your house, there's someone who's buying it, they're getting financing.
Yep.
So there's another loan officer on that side. And the reason why I keep going there, obviously, it's just my industry, but that loan officer could also play into this scenario.
Right.
If that loan officer is known and respected by the listing agent who you're trying to buy from, that is very, very helpful for you. We had an issue just this week where a loan should have funded on Monday. We were able to get it done on Tuesday, but it was the financing on the other side that was slowing things up, and we knew we didn't really like that, financing branch from the very beginning, and we knew there was going to be problems. But so those things can matter. The industry is big, but it's also small. A lot people know people. People know different companies.
Word of mouth, for sure.
Yeah, people know what's going on. So just getting communication and connecting all those dots, I think, is really, really crucial. For people who have lost out on their dream home, it's so disheartening. It's like getting just punched in the chest. And I experience it with them. I feel it too. What do you think that they need to know to not just think that they're going to win, but to stay motivated to the idea that they can win, that this can still happen for them?
Well, I would say, are you talking about for the sellers?
For the buyers who have lost out. A lot of times the first one you see is the one the first one you fall in love with is like the one, and then it's hard, to come back around. And sometimes people get defeated, or for example,
Buyer's fatigue.
Yeah, buyer fatigue. You talked about, hey, those people who came to you, they didn't have fatigue. They were still raring and ready to go. But that's not everybody, right?
Right, exactly.
Some people get fatigued. They may see this and go, hey, we lost. We tried to buy 6 months ago. We just can't. We have to wait for the market to slow down. We'll never be able to win this market. Like, what kind of, give me a motivational speech for those folks right now.
Well, I guess the thing I would say, like, the definition of crazy is doing the same thing over and over again and then expecting the same result. So I would tell those people that they would need to go to the drawing board, back to the drawing board, and really evaluate what they have been doing up to this point, right? And the great thing about this buyer, they were switching realtors, so they knew something was off. So they were switching realtors thinking they were going to get a different result. However, they didn't know that they were doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. All the realtors were doing the same exact thing, right? So once I got them in, it was actually that appraisal bridge. They'd never even heard of it. That's what got them in, mm-hmm. First time around, right? So I would say to those buyers who have been getting fatigued, and they're just like tired of the process, they want to get a home, but they're just not getting their offer accepted, I would say reach out, give me a call. We'll reevaluate the situation and just kind of see what you guys have been doing up to this point, right? And just have a conversation.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's
start slow, baby
start
steps.
slow. Like, let's just take it to the drawing board, right? And let's see what we can do,
yeah.
right? What we can do different to help you.
Yeah, let's talk about what you were doing, and then let's talk about what you can do differently. I think that's what he's saying. It's like, listen, if you're not winning, then you need to change something.
Yep.
And sometimes just getting another agent, just getting a new agent isn't going to work. It could, but that in alone, you may have an agent that's going to do the same things the previous one was. So the question, get granular with this. What were we doing before specifically? What are we going to do now?
Yep.
And let's make sure that those things are different and better.
Yep, and that goes back to who you work with as well. So like if you're going to shorten like loan contingencies, appraisal contingencies, inspection contingencies, all those things just make you look, it separates you from the pack. So if people are normally doing, let's say, 17 days for a loan, inspection contingency, and you're doing 10, like, okay, they got their stuff together. They're
mm-hmm.
they're ready to go in there. Usually we have our inspector there within 48 hours.
Yeah.
Right. And we're ready to rock and roll.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, it's funny. I actually just had a referral this morning, and I know the listing agent, and she said, hey, this lady wants to buy on my listing, but her loan officer is saying 45 days in the escrow, my seller just won't go for it.
Wow. Okay.
And he's a broker, and the brokers have, sometimes it's feast or famine, sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not.
Right.
And, it's like, oh, well, we can do that in 25, no problem. 30 days for sure, but 25, even 21 in some cases. But so, so we're going to win on that. We're going to help that buyer win mm-hmm. by, getting the time frame that the seller's comfortable with,
yep.
which is really, really important. So,
and that goes to pre-screening, man. All back to pre-screening the property before, because for some sellers, a shorter escrow period is like, that's what it's going to take, right? It might not even be about price. Like, they might not even care if it sells for 20 grand or 30 grand above. Like, they need to be gone like yesterday. So they need a 21-day close.
Yeah, there may be an escrow on their replacement property.
So exactly. So and then there's some sellers like mine who actually need, a 30-day escrow, and they need a 30-day contingency to go actually find the next replacement property.
Right.
So understanding what makes that seller tick is going to be crucial to your success to getting the offer accepted, especially in today's market.
Boom. Words of wisdom. This will help you win in today's real estate market. If you have questions, give us a call. All our information is in the post. Blake, thank you so much for coming in,
problem,
man.
man.
Really
Thank
appreciate
you.
your time.
Appreciate it.
Hey, share this with your friends. Let's help make them smarter than everyone else.